Chapter 21. Thursday morning. Waking up the next morning, Doreen rolled over and groaned. She couldn't remember the last time her body ached the way it did now. In the back recesses of her mind, she remembered reading something about the second day after working out was the worst, and today was certainly the second day after the hard Tuesday she'd spent. But she'd also worked hard on Wednesday, so that didn't bode well for tomorrow either. However, a hot shower might help. She staggered to her feet, wincing at the pain, and decided maybe instead of a shower, a bath. But that would take a long time, and she wasn't up for soaking. She really wanted coffee, and didn't have a clue what to do about the basement. It was time to have a serious talk with Nan. Doreen opted for standing under the hot shower water for a good 10 minutes, letting the heat beat down on her sore shoulders. She washed her hair, rinsed it, and then, after she dried off, she tied it into a braid. Feeling a bit better, she got dressed, hating the fact that her bedroom was still this chaotic. She would spend a few hours to finish off that dratted closet, and then find a way to maybe get another dresser in here from among all that stuff in the garage or in the basement, so she had something to hold her clothes. It was ridiculous, with all the expensive furniture she had just moved out of this place, to realize she now needed practical stuff to store things away in her bedroom. There was the set of shelves she'd emptied. She eyed that one, wondering if she should put it in the back of the closet, and maybe use that to put her folded stuff on, or at least her shoes. Dressed, with the animals looking like they felt as awful as she did, at least Goliath and Muggs, she headed downstairs. There she found Thaddeus, roosting on his special perch in the living room, almost snoring as he appeared to be in such a deep sleep. "We're all in need of a vacation," she announced. She walked into the kitchen, put on her morning pot of coffee, and stared out at the backyard. A fine misty haze covered the sky, soaking everything. She groaned. "Today's Thursday, and I work in the garden at Mac's mom's tomorrow. I sure hope this rain has stopped by then," she said. "And I'll never get my garden done." As she looked at it now, for all the work that she put into Penny's small bed, Doreen realized just how much it would take to get her huge backyard done. As she sat with her morning coffee, almost too tired to make breakfast, the file of paperwork that Mac had found at her side for when she had the energy to open it, her phone rang. She looked down and smiled. It was Nan. "I have fresh zucchini bread and bran muffins," Nan announced in a sprightly voice. "If you haven't had breakfast, come on down, and if you have had breakfast and you want to wait a little bit, these can wait until tea time." "I'm still drinking my first cup of coffee," Doreen admitted. "I slept like a log, but I'm not moving very well right now." "Oh dear, you're still sore?" "I worked hard yesterday morning again," she admitted. "So yes, the answer is, I am still sore." "Too sore to come down and have a fresh, warm bran muffin covered in maybe butter and honey?" Nan coaxed. Doreen chuckled. "The fact that it means I have to get out of the house almost makes it too much," she said. "But I haven't eaten, and fresh bran muffins sound divine. Then so does zucchini bread. It's a pretty crappy-looking day out there. If you want to drive this time, I'd certainly understand." Doreen had to stop and think about what a difference it would make to her, and then, of course, it hit her. If she drove, she wouldn't normally take Goliath and Thaddeus with her, but if she were only going to Nan's, she certainly could. But the walk might wake her up. If we hurry, the walk shouldn't be too bad. "Well, finish your coffee, dear," Nan said, "although you can have tea here." "I don't have coffee." "I need my coffee," Doreen admitted. "And well, I do want to talk to you." "Oh, that sounds serious," Nan said. "Is it to do with Penny?" "Only if you have any information about Penny's family growing up," she said. "I can't do any research if I don't have better names and a sense of a particular year." "Well, I gave you a bunch," Nan said. "And not too many people know the details about her brother, just some hushed secret that her father killed him through his abuse. I don't know if he died right away or lived in a coma for a few years and then died, or what." Her father went to jail for it? Yes. So, in that case, you should be able to get his records off Mac. She didn't bother saying it was probably public record, and she could look it up. I need some idea of years though, Doreen said. Any idea when any of this was? I'll consider asking Maisie and see if anybody else around here knows. If you come soon, while I wait, I can take a look in the breakfast room and see if anybody there has information. I finished my first cup of coffee, Doreen said as she eyed the small pot she'd made and decided to pour herself the second cup. I added a touch of cream to my coffee so it cools faster, but I'm really not too interested in racing down there until I've had my second cup. I'm not moving very fast at all. Oh my dear, that's why you should come, Nan coaxed. I'm coming, she said. I'll be down there in 15 to 20 minutes, Nan. She hung up and fed the animals, realizing she hadn't even done that yet, and while they ate, she finished her coffee. When everybody was ready, she grabbed a light windbreaker that might keep her dry from the misty rain, and called all the animals to her. She walked down the creek and took the corner toward Rosemore. Nan was sitting outside, but under cover to keep dry. Doreen and the animals hopped across on the stepping stones. As she walked onto Nan's patio, she said, I see those stepping stones are still here. Nobody gave you a problem about them? Lots of people gave me a problem about them, Nan said complacently. But I had very valid arguments for keeping them. She wouldn't say any more, so Doreen shrugged and pulled up her small chair. I'm glad I brought a sweater, she said. It's quite cold today with the rain. I know, Nan said. She ducked inside and returned with a fresh pot of tea and set it down. Now the muffins, the second batch just came out, so these are still hot. She set the little table with fresh muffins, butter, honey, and jam. And here's some zucchini bread. Doreen inhaled the aroma, smiling. I do love muffins, she said. The zucchini loaf looks great too. Any old folks will tell you, Nan said, we need bran muffins. Doreen didn't understand for a moment, then chuckled. I imagine fiber is your best friend these days, isn't it? Nan chuckled. Absolutely. We're supposed to have so many grams a day. It makes you wonder if there's room for anything that tastes decent. At that, she sat down and poured the tea for both of them. She urged Doreen to pick up a muffin and butter it. You know they're best when fresh. Doreen obediently took one, cut it in half, and buttered both sides. Muggs, encouraged by the smell from the table, lifted up onto his back legs and sniffed the table. Nan laughed in delight, but Doreen was not impressed. Muggs down, you know better than to beg, and you certainly aren't allowed to jump up like that. Muggs dropped to the ground and just looked at her sorrowfully. She shook her head. Now I can't even give you a piece because you did that, she scolded him. She lifted her gaze to the muffin on her plate and chewed carefully, but immediately wondered why Muggs didn't persist with his begging. She looked under the table to see Nan feeding him. Nan, you can't feed him if I just told him off for begging, she protested. Ah, she said, life's too short for all those rules and regulations. Even Muggs needs to have some freedom too, you know? He's had a pretty stressful month since you got here. Wow, Doreen said. It is over a month now, isn't it? She tilted her head. It's certainly a different life. Are you sorry that you came? Nan asked, suddenly serious, her piercing gaze studying Doreen's face. Doreen shook her head. No, she said stoutly. I'm definitely not sorry I came. It's a very different lifestyle, but it feels much more real to me. It is definitely real, Nan said. Just think about it. It's a real life. It's your life. But I think it's a good one for you. You're getting a tremendous amount of satisfaction from your gardening and from your work on the cold cases, plus doing something good for the community with each of those endeavors. Something I never thought I could do, Doreen said. I've always been good at puzzles, but I never really applied it to anything like this. If you'd stayed where you were, no way you could have had that opportunity, she said. No, very true. She scarfed up the first muffin before realizing it was even gone. Nan chuckled and nudged the plate closer. I do like to see you eat, she said. So eat up, eat up. You should be having at least 2 more. 1 more, Doreen said. 2 more would be too much. Then you'll take them home with you. Did you even eat dinner last night? You were so tired, I was worried. Doreen nodded. I was pretty tired, she said. Lots of physical work for several days in a row. Plus lots of excitement, she said, between the antiques and all your cold cases. Speaking of antiques, Doreen said, I still haven't found the receipts, the provenance, and that would certainly help, but I finally got into the basement. Oh, did you? Good, Nan said in delight. It's such a mess down there. It certainly is. What's the best way to get the furniture up and out of there? The garage double doors open up, she said. I don't even know when those were put in. That house is so full of holes. Yes, I noticed, she said. After the rug was removed, I found the trapdoor in the living room floor. Nan looked at her nonplussed. A trapdoor in the living room? Doreen slowly put down the muffin she'd held in her hand and said, Did you not know about that? Nan shook her head. I don't think I've ever seen it. What was in there? It opened up to the cellar side of the basement, she said. Very odd, though. Wow, Nan said. I didn't know. To get the furniture down into the basement, I opened the double doors in the garage. The trouble was, I ran out of room. So we just stacked it the best we could until it was full, and then I started filling the garage. I thought the stuff in the garage was mostly garbage, Doreen said. Most of it is, Nan said. I bought an estate lot unseen and found out I'd been taken for a ride as it was all junk. I always intended to get rid of it, but I never got to it. And the antiques in the basement, how valuable are they? Not as valuable as the set going to the auction, Nan said. But they are nice and worth tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know which pieces have value and which are just cheap knockoffs. Well, if I had my say in the matter, Nan said, none of them would be. But of course, like I said, some of them I did get taken in on. What about all the small stuff up on the mantel, like the snow globe and the vases? Lots of those pieces cost me quite a pretty penny, Nan admitted. But I have no idea what anything is worth now. She waved a hand and said, That's boring. Right now, tell me more about Penny. You were supposed to check with some of your friends, so you tell me about Penny, Doreen said in a dry tone. We were talking about dangerous plants once, Nan said. Maybe more than once. Penny was asking about the ones that would affect the heart. And, of course, George died of a heart attack supposedly. Right, so how do we prove Penny killed George? It may not be something we can prove, Doreen said. And maybe it's not something we have any business even trying to prove. We don't know for sure that she killed anyone. Nan chuckled and said, But we don't know for sure she didn't either. She took a muffin and put it on her plate. Her father's name was Randy Foster. Her brother was Anthony. And Doreen eyed Nan carefully. How do you know this? Granted, Doreen had already found this out via her internet search. But she still wondered how Nan had come by this info. Nan glanced around as if to make sure no one was listening, and added, Bridgman Solomon is a journalist. He's in here with us. He remembered the case well.